How do you shift negatives into positives? How do you shift those financial negative things or things that are weighing you down into positives? Because we have to lighten up financially. There's so much today that feels financially daunting, financially stressful with inflation and the risk of recession and all these other things. What's going on, everybody? Today we are going to talk about shifting your financial energy to support the present moment, to plant the seeds for the future that you desire. I am Julie Murphy, and don't forget to hit that subscribe, like, and notification bell. Why? Because I am here to help you get to a life that you absolutely love. So let's jump into this, okay? So I was having a conversation with a dear friend of mine, and she reminded me that when we're in transition and we're trying to align our purpose with our paycheck, and we don't realize that when we actually follow our heart and soul, that actually more money follows, and it comes with more ease and grace and fun, and it creates much more long lasting happiness and joy in our lives. And the conversation was about the fact that she had already shifted to her place in aligning with more of her purpose in life. So she left the world where she was driving the BMW and she had, expensive jewelry, and it's not that she is not making the money she had yesterday, but it's not necessarily coming in a regular and consistent paycheck because she's learning to follow her spiritual path and what she really loves more in the world. And so, what a lot of times will happen to people in this process is that you'll get intermittent results and it feels a little up and down because when you go on that soul path, you expand and contract. And your money could very easily do that exact same thing if we're not mindful of what are our limiting belief patterns and how are we repeating what we don't want to create in our lives, and really focus and shift and pivot this to really shift your financial energy to what it is that you want to create for tomorrow. And it's actually what you're doing right here, right now, in the present moment. And we don't realize sometimes how important that really is. Let me give you an example of how you can shift your financial energy. So, oftentimes, I'll give the example of when I held on to my wedding rings for 4 years. I saw different people from divorced parents of like, well, what's going to support you today? And the divorced parents are saying, there, should I save the rings? Should I give them to my kids? And there's no right or wrong answer here. But what I realized when I met this other woman when I was traveling to Costa Rica, she had her parents' wedding bands hanging around her neck. But it was a story that she attached to. And it was fascinating to watch her attached to this story because she was still working on the trauma in her childhood that was created during her parents' divorce. And so she was constantly reminded of this separation because those two rings were hanging around her neck on a regular basis. And I sat there wondering to myself, well, I don't necessarily want that to be my children's burden. I want them to take what they've learned from my divorce and use it as a building of their muscles. And what kind of energy do I want that to be for them tomorrow? Let alone if you're sitting on a diamond ring, it could help you today with what you're doing. So I had pondered this, and so you know when we have something of value, whether it's something you inherited or wedding rings or engagement rings or jewelry you even bought yourself 15 years ago, you may not have value to that, but you're holding on to it because of sentimental value. And that's okay too, if that's what you decide. But remember, that's also keeping your energy stagnant for today. So the question is what is it that you would like to do with the stagnant energy that you might be holding on to? So for an example, my wedding rings, we cashed them out and we put them into our kids' college funds so that it would seed the future that we wanted to support. And my friend that I was talking to the other day, she was looking at selling some of her jewelry, like expensive watches that she had bought and diamonds that she had gotten from not only her grandmother but her mom, that were just sitting there. And today she with aligning with her purpose, she's in transition. So it's not that she was sad selling the things, because I asked her to tap into her body and say, does it feel sad to sell those things? It's the energy of yesterday. How do you want to support that to be the energy of tomorrow that you really do want to create? And she's like, there's a piece of me that's kind of sad, but she goes, but I'm super excited about what this money is going to do for me to launch me into this next phase of my life. And being a parent myself, I would say that, oh gosh, I would love for anything that I ever gave my children to actually see how it's going to help them launch into a life that they love, aligning with their heart and their soul, and doing it in a very practical manner. Now, we have to be careful of this because oftentimes we've acted out our limiting beliefs and we have a bunch of debt. So I would be very mindful that you don't want to shift something that's maybe from yesterday to just cleaning up your mess that you made. You could, but if you don't fix what created the mess in the first place, you'll regret selling those things because you're using it just to clean yourself up, as opposed to actually having it be something to launch a new reality in your world. Another way that I see this pop up with people is when I ask them about the financial products that they have and why. I often see this when it comes to, sometimes people will buy stocks from when they were younger. I know I even had this CD that I had, and I started it initially with 250 bucks. Gosh, when I was so young. And every year that it matured, because it matured once a year, I added another chunk of money to it, whatever I had that year, and I added to it. And it compounded and compounded and compounded and compounded. And then I remember when I was going through my divorce, I was like, ah, I need to use that to survive. There was part of me that was really sad about that. But it was like, no, you know what? The good news is I had it and I could pivot to get me through that transitionary period of my life. And so that's okay too. So I want you to be mindful of, let's say you bought an insurance product years ago and you don't necessarily have a need for that insurance today. Why keep it? Well, the only reason you keep it is because it serves what it is that you want it to do today, not necessarily that it's going to serve you for tomorrow. So be very mindful of how you can shift your financial energy. So, are there things around your house that are old energy that you can sell or gift it away so you can get a tax deduction to save money on your taxes? How do you shift negatives into positives? How do you shift those financial negative things or things that are weighing you down into positives? Because we have to lighten up financially. There's so much today that feels financially daunting, financially stressful, with inflation and the risk of recession and all these other things. So, how can you be proactive and shift your personal financial energy? It might even be just going to creditcards.com and clicking balance transfers, and you're getting that transfer to a lower interest rate than what you have today. Or maybe you're calling your credit card companies and saying, hey, you're robbing me blind with this 23% interest rate. I need you to lower it or I'm shutting the account off. All these things you can do to create your financial life to be a brighter, more positive place, so it's not something that feels heavy. And again, please come to juliemurphy.com. We've got all kinds of things to help you. Get on our email list, because I do a new enrollment every quarter for live coaching once a week to help you get to a life that you love. And don't forget, awakenyourwealthbook.com. You can get my book for free, and you just have to pay for your own shipping. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.